Who wants to go next? Is it time? Is it time? Are we primed?
I'm primed for it.
Yeah, we should just do it.
It's time
Right.
to finally talk about anime RPG, Rune Factory, Guardians of Yasuma. That's right, we're doing it. No,
Yeah,
it's Metroid Prime 4!
I was going to continue the bit, but you ruined it.
Sorry.
Who wants to start us off on this fucking thing?
You know, I forget who said it, but there's like this quote from like this old guy. Might have been a controversial figure. I don't remember who it was. But he's like, I don't know how to describe porn, but I know it when I see it. And that's
I
kind
think
of
that was a Supreme Court justice.
that's how I feel about Metroidvanias, where I can't necessarily describe what makes a Metroidvania work, but like I kind of know it when I play it. I know when I'm playing a good one, and I can also tell when I'm playing a bad one. This was not it. This was, I don't know. It had a pretty decent, good first impression. I think the game looks really good. I played on Switch 1, so I don't know how it runs or how it looks on Switch 2, but for Switch 1, it looks pretty good. And like I didn't have an issue with like frame drops or anything. So there is that.
And they did, I do want to give it credit for one thing. They did finally get Kenji Yamamoto and Minako Hamano back to compose a soundtrack.
I remember the music
time.
being decent. I remember it being pretty decent. Yeah.
Because it's like they didn't do Dread and they didn't do Samus Returns. Like they did like sound design for it or something, but they didn't actually compose any music. And apparently they've just been working on this game for the past 10 years or something. Because like I looked at a list of credits and it was like the last thing they worked on was Donkey Kong Country Tropical Freeze. Like they composed some. David Wise did most of the soundtrack, but he didn't do the boss themes. That was the Returns sound team. And the Returns sound team, they got the Metroid people over to basically, in Donkey Kong Country Returns, to basically remix the soundtrack that already existed when there was a perfectly good Metroid game in development at the same time that they could have been working on instead. So, and then like all these years passed and they finally came back and did new music, and that was great. Like Volt Forge, that was fantastic. That was like some Tangerine Dream shit.
Prime 4 its flowers, at least when I first went there, I really fucked with the Volt Forge.
Yeah, they look cool.
Yes.
It's another bittersweet pill to swallow with Prime 4 is that it kind of opened with some really rad stuff. And I was like, oh, maybe we're cooking. And then it just kind of falls off a cliff. So very gradually. But man, I don't know. I have so much to say about it.
But like, it just felt like the game was just handing you stuff. You didn't really have to work for anything. And the level design just kind of made itself up as it went along. And then I got bored. I did the ice dungeon. They call them dungeons or temples, which I thought was weird. And then I helped the guy out who had like a bad leg, and he's like, "Oh, you did good, Samus. Good job." And I said, "Thanks." And then it's like, "Oh, go give this upgrade to the guy in the beginning area, and you can get a flamethrower or something like that." I said, "Okay." Okay, sweetie.
All right,
poo.
time to shut this off and work on my book instead, because that seems more fun.
I just got bored.
Yeah.
I don't know.
I do want to say you made me realize that Rieger Tokabi is basically the Praise the Sun guy from Dark Souls.
Okay. And who is that man that you speak? Is that the guy with the bad leg?
Yes, because his whole thing is that he worships a sun god named Solon. And isn't there a guy in Dark Souls who wears like a sun armor suit and is like praise the sun?
Solaire.
Yeah, so that's interesting. He was I don't want to make it seem too bad because Rieger was one of my favorite human characters, which we can get into later, but this game
murdered my family.
Yeah, I mean, this game,
like, not to be that guy, right? But when I think of the games that like really disappointed me, right? I'm thinking Kingdom Hearts 3, I'm thinking Final Fantasy 7 remake, you know, stuff like that, right? And it's like, it works for a lot of people. Totally fine. Respect it. And I'm glad people who enjoy those things can enjoy it. That's great. It's just not my thing anymore. Right? I never held Metroid to the same standard as like Kingdom Hearts or Final Fantasy. Like Metroid was never my favorite thing in the world. But I enjoyed the games when they came out. Right? Like Prime 1 is fun. I think you even
picked Dread in 2021.
Yeah, Dread was the best one, I think. Like it was I like Fusion a lot. I like the first Prime. I like the third Prime a lot, too. And Dread, I thought, was pretty friggin' sweet, you know? But, like, I haven't played Echoes. I'm not... This is going to get me fucking murdered. But, like, I'm not also the like the biggest fan of Super Metroid. It's a control thing for me. But like I can respect it. I think it's a cool game. It's not my favorite thing to play. Whatever. It's not my favorite franchise, but I enjoy it. So,
Yeah.
you know, when I'm playing Prime 4, it's like, oh, I'm kind of excited for this game because it's Prime 4, but I'm not like chomping at the bit to play it. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
It's like, oh yeah, I'm interested to see where it goes. Oh, that wasn't my favorite thing ever. Oh well, moving on. As opposed to like, you know, where it's like Kingdom Hearts 3 or Final Fantasy 7 Remake, you may have like, I would have like certain expectations for it. Didn't meet those. You were
like downing an entire tub of Ben and Jerry's after Master Xehanort evaporated when Master Ericus fucked him in the ass.
I was a good guy the whole time, Sora. I swear. Yeah. And then he dies. And then I was just like, what was that? Yeah.
What the hell was that? As Krusty would say. Yeah, and I think that's where King and I differ in that we're both huge Metroid fans, right? Both love this franchise a lot.
I feel weird with Prime 4 because I would call it my most disappointing game of the year because I didn't really like it.
Yeah.
But I wasn't really heading into Prime 4 with high expectations because of a number of things leading up to the release, like it just being in existence for like 10 years.
Can I also?
Yeah, I wanted to mention that, but go on.
Can I also bring up, because like they had, I forget if this was like a direct they had specifically for Prime 4, or if this was just like during a Prime 4 showcase during one of the directs, but they were showing off the new telekinesis powers for Samus. And one of the pitches was you can use her psychic ability to open doors. And I'm like, that's what you're trying to sell us on?
I do remember that.
I
don't know.
I went out of my way to avoid all of the pre-release stuff because I just wanted to be surprised, you know?
Uh-huh.
So then, like, I started hearing about Miles McKenzie, like, 2 weeks before the game came out, and everybody was like, oh, the game is doomed because they have characters who talk, and without having seen what they were talking about, it's just like, there were NPCs in Prime 3. You know, like, the whole game, the Aurora unit tells you what your objectives are. What's the difference here?
Well,
like, without having seen that.
Weren't there also characters in Prime 2?
Yeah,
yes, but
they do talk to you.
Yeah.
There's Umos, but you only see him like 4 times. It's not like he calls you on the radio and says, you should really go to the ice belt and pick up the thing, Samus.
Remember to wash your foreskin. Wait, wrong game. Sorry.
Well, what game are you talking about?
Don't worry about it. Moving on.
Okay.
I wasn't really like, it's been in existence for so long that like when I heard that development had restarted in like 2019 or whenever it happened, I'm like, so at first that leaves Prime 4 in such an odd spot because I'm thinking like, okay, now, you know, development's a complicated world. Could just be that there really was a solid idea for Prime 4 that just never came together and they had to restart it because they'd already announced it. But, you know, that puts Prime 4 in a strange position where now Retro is being handed this thing that presumably they didn't ask to make, but are now, they just kind of have to do something with it because we announced Prime 4 must exist. And that's not ever a great place for your game to be in, to off jump.
Yeah.
You can kind of feel it in the end product. But, you know, it's not that it didn't seal its fate. It still could have been great. It's more that stuff like that paired with seeing some, I didn't watch all of it because I wanted to keep some of it fresh, but I saw a few things in directs where I was like, this game seems weird. Like this.
Yeah.
I was getting really bad vibes from everything they were showing. And I was like, okay, maybe the game just doesn't show well. You know, maybe like, I think slowly leading up to its release, the optimistic part of my brain was just assassinated. And then I got it and I was like, I had tempered expectations. And so I'm not going to say that I was really upset by it because I finished it and I was like, yeah, I kind of didn't like that. It was a video game. I kind of didn't like that. And that was just kind of that. I didn't really dwell on it too much after. Not to say I don't have a lot to say about it, because I do. Because there is a lot to say about Metroid Prime 4. It is a fascinatingly bad video game.
Ooh.
I guess it's just interesting because I expected to have more of a more dramatic response to it because I do love Metroid, but maybe I just felt kind of well fed by Dread and a lot of the stuff going on with Metroid in recent years. if Dread did not happen, this might have hit me worse. But because Dread happened and I fucked with it so hard, I was like, I can eat this. I can eat it.
I could stomach this.
Yeah.
You know, it's like, I don't even necessarily think that Prime 4 is a bad game, so to speak. Like, I don't mean this.
I respect what you're about to say, but just keep in mind the game falls off a cliff at the parts where you did not reach. I just want to say that for the record.
I know there are things. I know things about this game that I did not get to. And I don't mean this in a rude way, so if I'm coming off as rude, forgive me, but it genuinely it felt like the people who made this game, it kind of felt like as if they don't know what makes a Metroid game tick. It's like they know, like, the surface level, the sci-fi theme, the kind of, like, ambience, the way how things... Like, it knows how it's supposed to look, but the actual, like, how it actually ticks, I feel like if they have no idea how that makes...
Well, they very well might not, because that goes back to what I was saying. Like, I don't want to theory craft about things I don't understand, because quite frankly, none of us understand what was going on behind the scenes. But
Sure, yeah.
From the outside looking in, it just kind of seems like Nintendo was like, hey, Retro, this didn't go very well. Can you do this? And then they just did it.
Yeah.
And so very well, maybe they didn't really... Maybe they were like...
It's not like the same people who made the Prime games that made this one.
I'm sure there's somebody there who made some of the Prime games, but it's definitely
want to say the director
of
the first one came back or something like that. I do want to reiterate the development timeline very briefly, because this game was there's the Metroid Prime Federation Force controversy in 2014, where they announced that game, and the last game was Other M, and there was just like nothing for years, and it's like, here, we're making this spin-off, and people are like, where's the new actual Metroid game? It's been 5 fucking years, guys. And like, whoa, we didn't expect this at all. So that's why I think they announced Prime 4 way before it was ready, is because they just wanted to assure fans that, no, we haven't abandoned this franchise. We're going to do something with it. Here comes a real, proper, new installment in this series. We're making it. And then I want to say they gave it to Namco. They gave it to a Japanese dev, which I don't know if how many Japanese developed FPSs there are. There's like this old stereotype that the Japanese don't like FPSs. I have absolutely no idea if it's true or not.
It has something to do, like, because I've heard this before, because I think the thing is like, oh, Japanese people are prone to motion sickness, so games that are in first
that's
person
what
kind
I've
of
heard.
trips them up. Yeah.
I have no idea if it's true, but either way, Namco was like a Japanese developer. Like, I think it's like the same team that made Smash for the 3DS or something. That was also Namco, if I'm not mistaken.
Yeah.
And I guess they ran into trouble actually making the game, so they handed it over to Retro, who made Tropical Freeze in 2014, and they made nothing. It's like my upload rate in the review channel, where like they just made fucking nothing for like 6 years, and then all of a sudden, surprise, we remastered Prime 1. It's like, oh, so what have you guys been doing the past 6 years? I guess we'll never know. And then like, oh yeah, they're making Prime 4. So I don't know. There was like a rumor for a while that I think was debunked that they were making like a Star Fox racing game that never came out, or some kind of crossover. It was probably not true. It seems like there was some shit going on behind the scenes with Retro Studios that we'll probably never know.
Can I briefly say, whoever came up with that Star Fox racing rumor, I hate you. That game sounded so fucking cool. Hate you.
Yeah.
It's the only rumor that ever made me upset.
And then, like, the fact that the game took so long to develop, I don't think did it any favors, because Prime 1 also famously had a very troubled development, and people were convinced it was going to be a big piece of shit. And then it came out, and it was really great, and now it's considered, like, one of the canonically good Metroid games, the two being Super Metroid and Metroid Prime. Those are the ones that everybody likes. And then, like, the rest of the series is, I don't know, not considered bad, but those are, like, the ones that everybody likes. Yeah, so, like, lightning could have struck twice. The Volt Forge could have struck twice, rather.
Hey, yo.
And it did strike twice. You have to go back there, like, 3 times, or whatever the fuck.
Oh, Jesus. Well, okay, like, let's... Ryan is 100% right that this game does not know what makes Metroid tick. I've seen a lot of comparison between this game and the second and third one, because, like, the first one was trying to be, like, a proper open-world 3D Metroid, where like you'd go back to places. And then like obviously the big criticism everybody had was the backtracking. So for Prime 2, and partially because Prime 2 was developed in only 2 years and like a reduced budget or whatever, it's a smaller game, but they made more use of that space. So like you're more backtracking within the same area. And, you're going through a lot of the same rooms, but it's the shapes of the rooms is less modular. Like everything was a hallway or a circle in Prime 1, and the shapes tend to be more interconnected. Like I just thinking of that upper layer of Torvus Bog, where like all the rooms are kind of interconnected and it makes it easier to get to places. But the game is still kind of level based in the sense that they're like, here are these 3 areas on the outside, and then once you're done with that, you get the temple keys and you fight the final boss.
Well, I mean, because Prime 2 also had the Dark World, for lack of a better, like, I don't know what it's called, but like it had the Dark World, right?
Dark Ether or Aether, I have no idea how that word is pronounced. I think it's Aether because AE in Latin is like I or something. And then you get to the third game, which is, controversy alert, my favorite of that trilogy. And I know that's unpopular because it's the least Metroid-y of them all, but I think one thing that really made that game work for me is the fact that it's a trilogy capper, and it feels like there's this huge galactic threat, and there's a reason to go to all these planets, and because of that, there's a justifiable reason to kind of scope the planets down and make them feel more like levels. It's okay. And like you could use the ship to fast travel and stuff. Whereas with this game, it feels like the levels are built similarly to Prime 3, but without any of the excuses for why it works in that game, in my opinion. Like, this game has no fast travel in it, which really shocked me. And there's even a part where you get like a teleporter module, and I'm like, oh, we're going to be able to teleport to different save rooms. No, it's some dumb bullshit for the end game, which we'll get to. So there's just no fast travel in the game at all, and it's huge. And you've got like the desert in the center, and it's like Ryan brought up, oh, go back to Miles McKenzie and unlock the flamethrower weapon or whatever. And it's like, you have to keep coming back to him every time you unlock a new beam weapon. And it gets really old that there's not a faster way to do that. Or like
in the other games, it's just like, oh, you found the ice missile.
Yeah.
You just have it. You just use it. You don't need to like backtrack all the way to bumfuck nowhere to
I don't
get
understand why this is a thing, because the worst thing that the Prime games ever asked you to do was like, I think like in Prime 2, the like multi-shot missile, I think you have to go out of your way to go get. But it's not like you have to return to an NPC. Like, I don't know why it's in the game.
I could think of maybe 2 reasons as to why they did that. It's one, to justify the character being there at all. You know, you put in like the time and money to have, to make the character model, to write dialogue, to, pay the voice actor, make the most of it. That I can understand. And then also for running out game time, padding it out, so to speak. Not that these are good things, but like I could maybe understand where they're coming from.
We'll talk about the characters, but I do want to talk about that padding thing you mentioned. And that's that this game, I don't want to make it, because like I think I liked the game more than you guys did. It was disappointing, don't get me wrong. It is not what I wanted out of a fourth one of these games, especially after waiting so long for it since it was announced. But as a video game, for like the first 2/3, I was really enjoying it just on a pure visceral gameplay level, because they brought back the Prime 3 control scheme and even refined it in some ways. And that was always like,
with the Joy-Cons.
That was always my favorite control scheme in any FPS was Prime 3. And this is basically the same thing. You can do that.
Did they not do that for the Prime remaster?
I think they did, but I never played that. So, and you have to use the tiny dinky Joy-Con ones. So I don't know how that would have felt. But, with Joy-Con 2s, they actually are proportioned for adult hands. So, and I was surprised because the Joy-Con 2s don't have the IR sensor in the back, but you could still aim them like you would the regular Joy-Con one. So it makes me wonder why that Mario Galaxy 1 and 2 remaster couldn't do that too for the pointer. Because like that makes you use a Joy-Con 1, if I'm not mistaken, to use the pointer for the star bits, or maybe it doesn't even let you do that at all. Can't remember. Yeah, like just the pure visceral gameplay part of it, like the combat, shooting things, moving around, felt really good.
Yeah.
So they nailed down the game feel. I also liked the motorcycle for what it was. It was a bizarre idea that I wouldn't have thought to ask for, but it's something different, and I enjoyed just like driving around with it. The experience of driving it around was fun, especially in the Vault Forge, where you've got like the track that you go around
the race
before the second boss.
Yeah.
But this game's biggest problem is the pacing, in my opinion, because like the old games were like about 10 hours long a piece, and it felt like you got new upgrades at a regular clip. Like, especially the first one, in an early sequence, you get, like the double jump, the morph ball, the bombs, the charge beam and stuff in quick succession. They don't like make you wait forever to get that stuff. And then in Prime 3, they just start you with the double jump, and they don't make you unlock that again. But then you go to Prime 4, and it's like 4 hours before you get the double jump, and it just felt really padded. Like, you've got 10 hours worth of content, but we want to stretch it to, I don't know, 15 hours. So everything felt like it took just a little too long to get to, even compared to the older games, which are already slower paced than the 2D ones to begin with. And it's just like the fact that, okay, we're 4 games in, and they have so few ideas for new power-ups that we have to unlock the double jump again, or the boost ball again. And they wait way too long to give you the boost ball, too. That's like near the end of the game.
You know,
that's something that would have made backtracking faster, too.
I saw this one person talk about Metroid Prime 4, and he was saying that, like, it's hard to, like, appreciate this game when we've already had so many other Metroidvanias since, like, from Prime 3 to Prime 4, that kind of, like, take the ideas that the Metroid Prime games had and just ran with it. Okay, well, if you compare it with, like, something like Silksong, which is the example that he used, it's like you can use these abilities that you get in those games in a multitude of different ways. But like in Prime 4, it's like, oh, you get the double jump. There's no real like practical application besides, oh, you could just slightly jump a little higher and get to like a cliff that you probably wouldn't reach normally. Or, oh, you got the fire thing. Well, you can use it to melt ice. And there's no like, it's just, everything's just very surface level and everything's very basic. Not only that,
but it's all stuff you could do in the first game too.
Yeah.
Just with some token psychic interactions stapled on. I will give it credit for one thing. I liked the spider grapple. That was kind of cool. The way that you could fling yourself around. I liked that.
The one missile that you get where you kind of like, you shoot it and then like you go into slow-mo and you kind of control where the bullet goes.
Yeah, that's the control charge beam.
Yeah, I liked that. They did some cool stuff with that.
I thought it was gimmicky, but tolerable.
Yeah.
I mean, I didn't hate it, but it just seemed like every boss fight was built around it. And it's like, oh, I missed this thing just barely. Now I have to wait for the thing to reveal its weak point again. See, I'm here trying to be diplomatic, and you just come out and say it. Yeah.
It felt like somehow a worse version of that thing in Skyward Sword.
The beetle!
Oh, yeah, you're totally right now that I think about it. But yes, that is exactly what it was.
I don't want to shit on it, but like, so when I first beat it, I feel like I had this experience where I was like, this game's kind of mid.
Yeah.
And like, slowly over time, it has just gone down a few notches. I'm like, maybe it's a little worse than mid. Maybe I don't feel
It is one
like,
of those.
I remember when I first played it, and I was like, maybe I'll play that again on hard mode and see if it improves. I still haven't done it. I don't know if I will, to be honest. Because it's like I said earlier, it opens with a strong impression in terms of what I like about the Prime games, which is primarily the feeling of existing in the world is what I love most about Metroid. You know, it helps when they're well designed, but like, you know, so the Volt Forge, while not like the most complex dungeon necessarily, it had a really, really, really neat theming to it, where it was, you were building your motorcycle, and that threaded the whole experience together and had a nice finale to it where you're shot out back into the desert. That part of Prime 4, I was like, I feel like I was almost misled by it, because it, in terms of like thematic through line and like design ethos, it was like a very, very solid like showcase of like, we're going to tell a story through this dungeon of you getting this motorcycle.
Yeah.
In one of the coolest looking places in the game by far. It's like, I think the story of it is like, they get most of their energy from that place, but it either caused the giant storm or they're benefiting from the giant storm. I don't really remember.
I think they're benefiting from it, which is why they built that facility there.
But either way, it is the coolest looking thing in the game, for me at least. And it had this cool story of you're building the motorcycle, and at one point, like, they pick up Samus and thinks she's a wheel, but then like discards her. And I'm like, this is really cute, really awesome. And there's nothing else in the game at all like that. And I just feel like I don't know.
I'm going to agree with you that was the best dungeon in the game, definitely. But I would give a second place nod to the first visit through the ice belt facility.
I love the idea of that place so much. I did not like it, though.
I was watching Jay's review of Resident Evil 8 recently, and he pointed out, like, playing the 7 and 8 back to back, he had this observation where, like, they just wanted to make a series of haunted houses. You know, that's kind of what 8 is like each of the Lords of Shadow, so to speak, have their own little gimmick and their own little self-contained section that has its own, you know, unique design quirk or whatever. And the areas in this game kind of reminded me of that, where like the Vault Forge is the motorcycle building haunted house. Yeah, like each one sort of had its own unique gimmick. And then when you come back to them without that gimmick there, they just feel kind of empty. Like it's so built around the spectacle or the gimmick that you go through the first time that once you don't have that gimmick there, it just ceases to be interesting, I guess. So like the cleanup 100% is kind of boring in this.
I love the idea. That's because Samus is here. Half of the reason she is here is to preserve the memory of the Lemorne and to perhaps allow it to prosper into the future one day. And so the idea of going into the Vault Forge, reactivating this long defunct machine, also doing the same in the ice dungeon where you're like, this place is frozen over, and you're kind of, there's a cool segment of it where you're walking around, not much is going on because it's all frozen, and you're reading data logs, and it's a little bit haunting, and I like that. And you like reactivate it and have to go through the dungeon again, but it's not frozen because you reactivated the engine, the heat engine or whatever.
Yeah, the different enemies coming at you.
Like, I just kind of liked piecing together all the logs and like what the hell they were even doing there. And then the reveal towards the end that, oh, the Grievers are actually the Lemorne transformed. And I liked that whole plot line. I don't like the plot overall, but the whole premise of the Lemorne, how like this society that started out as more technologically oriented and then realized, oh, holy shit, we're going to exhaust all the resources on our planet if we keep going in this direction, and then pivoted towards psychic abilities. And then they're like, hey, let's use our knowledge and our new psychic abilities to sort of terraform this desert, bring it back to life, only to inadvertently cause a horrible catastrophe that caused most of the population to transmutate into horrifying monsters. And then, like, you know, it's sort of like a fall from grace, a tragedy, so to speak of. And this savior, this chosen one that just never came, despite all the promise of it, you know, then she showed up too late.
That's what bothers me the most, though, about Prime 4 is like you're unearthing a history that nobody may have ever learned about had Samus not arrived there. And that's rad, but it's like chafing against the other part of the game that is aggressively uninteresting, aka the thing that is happening in the present day. And it's an extremely jarring, I don't know, I guess there are two halves of this game that just every like 10 minutes, one half shows itself and the other half shows itself. And it's never quite gelling. Like when you get to the volcano where you learn about how they spray the green goo, the globulin green everywhere.
The Soylent green is made from Lemorne.
So the place conceptually seems interesting, but what they use it for is like you pal around with the two people, Armstrong.
Yeah, the lesbian and the sergeant.
I don't remember the other one.
I don't remember his name. Duke Armstrong? No, Duke. Ezra Duke.
Ezra Miller.
Yeah, Ezra Miller. And they were in this game. That's what happened to them after they got canceled. They got sent to a random alien planet.
The Flash did so bad that they had to run over to Metroid Prime 4.
Yeah. Ezra had to join the Galactic Federation Marine Corps.
I don't hate the idea of having people there. It's just I don't like those people, really. And it's not even just that I don't like them. It's that the way that they're deployed makes them unlikable for me. Because the whole dungeon is kind of designed to where you're kind of shooting people with them. And I like shooting things in Prime 4 to a point. And that point probably extended to the volcano where they continued to trot out the robots. And at that point, I was like, I feel like I need something a little more fresh than just shooting the robots. Just a little bit. Because it's starting to get stale. And these beam upgrades, they kind of do different things in combat, but nothing... You're never really demanded to do anything except shoot with your normal beam, because the other beams, could not figure out if they were even doing more damage than my beam. And in fact, in boss fights, it seems like the beam is just better if you rapid shoot it.
Yeah, like the electricity stuns them, the ice beam freezes stuff, and then you can like hit them with the missile to shatter them. And
I
it's
did
like
do
the
that
robots.
sometimes, yeah. I remember the ice interaction.
It's really fast to kill things that way, and then like the flame, I think, can melt plant type enemies. So it's like there is, but this is all shit that was in the first game and the third game to some extent. So it's like nothing fresh or new. It's like,
and it's like I know there are more than just these two types of enemy, but I can only think of the grievers and the robots. And I maybe it's just been the time away that I've had from it, but I cannot think of anything else that was in the game. I know there was more enemies than that, but I can't even think of it.
Well, part of the problem is a lot of the ones that aren't those, and like the grievers are clearly supposed to be flood, by the way.
Yeah.
They're used the same where it's just like hordes of really easy to kill enemies that come one after another, just like the flood. So like the whole game's like the library, and everybody loves that level.
Yeah.
But like the enemies that aren't those are just copied from the older games. Like there's War Wasp knockoffs everywhere. There's like the Triclops, the little worms that grab you when you're a morph ball. And then like even the robots are just the tin bots from Skytown.
Yeah.
You fight them the same way. So it's like, and that to me is like the big problem with this thing is it's like after 8 years or however long this game took to come out, like we wait all this time and it's just the first game with some stuff from the second and third stapled on. You know what I mean? Like it's
nothing new.
Like, yeah, it's just stuff we've all seen before. And like after 8 years, you think they'd have something really interesting and fresh to show us, but that's not really what we got. We just got more of the same, which, you know, and if you consider the design of the older games dated, which I don't necessarily, apart from the tank controls in the first two on GameCube, I could see that being really disappointing for someone who's not as big a fan. And for me, it was disappointing because it's just stuff I've seen before that was better in those games. Like in Prime 1, I don't have to backtrack to an NPC to unlock the ice beam. You know what I mean? I just get it.
Yeah, and also, I don't have to backtrack across a fucking desert. That's the other part of the problem, is that the backtracking is weird, but it isn't so much the problem if you've designed a world that's interesting to navigate, which the Prime games did have. I think Prime 1 stretches it a little bit sometimes, but that's just the me thing, I think.
I appreciated it a lot more after playing 4. I gotta be honest.
I sure as hell
I did
probably
replay the first two.
Because
recently.
when you have, that's the core of Metroid, is when the world you've created is interesting to traverse, the backtracking ceases to feel like backtracking because you're like, okay, I know this map like the back of my hand now. The desert throws a fucking monkey wrench into all of that because it's this huge, mostly empty landscape. There's a few things dotted around in there that's of interest.
There are a few shrines, mini dungeon type deals.
Yeah. That you must constantly traverse. And not only constantly traverse, they expect you to interact with every little thing along the way while you are traversing it, aka the green crystals and the shrines, I guess, too.
And I guess we got to talk about the green crystals at some point. You guys are going to hate me for saying this, but I kind of enjoyed getting the green crystals in the desert in a very shallow cookie clicker kind of way, or it's just fun to break the thing and watch the number go up.
Yeah.
Extremely surface level and shallow.
The green crystals are the least of Prime 4's worries.
Oh,
it's just kind of a thing that also is weird.
I guess it's for me, it's like it's just another straw on the camel's back, you know?
It really didn't even bother me that much because most of them you just collect on the way to somewhere you're supposed to go anyway. So, like I really didn't, when I got to the end, I really didn't have to get too many of them because I basically had almost all of them. Not all of them that exist, but all of them that you need anyway.
Yeah.
You know what it honestly feels like? It feels like when they were coming up with like ideas for this game, you know, they had like a bullet point where it's just like, we need to somehow make this game have like open world elements or something like that. But they could not think of like anything to do in said open world. And this is just what we got. It feels like as if it's here because like, oh, well, the Zelda games are open world and everything's open world now. Everything's all about like having wide open spaces, but like they don't understand like what makes that actually work, if that makes any sense.
I wish the idea of having a central hub like that is kind of what the Prime games do. At least Prime 2 does it.
Yeah, the Great Temple Grounds.
If it was just kind of like a much larger Great Temple Grounds and it wasn't just a fucking desert, like maybe it would have been too long for its own good, but like it would have been more interesting to have like a little bit more going on in the central hub connecting these dungeons together. But there really is nothing going on in between them. But they also expect you to traverse this thing at the rate you normally would in a Metroid game, which just, those two things don't mix. So I don't know. And it makes me hate the motorcycle. And I love the motorcycle conceptually. I just told you about how the Volt Forge is fucking fantastic. Building the thing, riding around in it for like the first 10 minutes, I was like, oh, this thing's pretty cool. But 80% of its use is in the desert, which just sucks.
Yeah. And I do want to address the point Ryan came up with where they put a bunch of things on a whiteboard and said, like, we got to put this in there. Like, this absolutely feels like a game that was constructed from the concepts of 3 different games at once.
Yeah.
Like, someone thought, hey, what if there's a game where Samus is stranded on a planet and doesn't have a ship? Oh, that's kind of a cool idea. Hey, what if Samus has to interact with some G-Fed people and, like, get to know them and humanize them a little bit? Hey, what about the surprise ending of Prime 3 where Sillux chases Samus at the end in the 100% ending? We got to follow up on that. We've been teasing that shit for 10 years. And we've been teasing Sillux's backstory since 2006 in the Prime Hunters game.
Yeah.
We got to reveal that.
We've done something with Sylux, which is we brought him back and did nothing else.
Well, we'll talk about him because that was honestly shocking. But oh, and also space pirates are in there. And I want to stress that the game starts and it's like, Sillux has taken over the space pirates and he's developed mind-controlling Metroids. And I'm just like, did that happen in Federation Force? I don't remember
I think
that.
It was in Federation Force. I don't know. I don't know anything about that game.
I did play that game and I did look up a plot summary and no, that didn't happen in that game. The secret ending of that game is Sillux steals a Metroid that you captured in one of the earlier levels. And that's like the secret ending. And it's like, and it's following up on that Prime 3 ending. So it's like, okay, Sillux is going to show up in Prime 4. It's basically all but confirmed at this point.
And he's just Sylux is just some fucko from Prime Hunters or something like that.
The following contains endgame spoilers for Metroid Prime 4 Beyond. Viewer discretion is advised.
So I don't understand the obsession with Sylux to begin with. And I think it was a self-fulfilling prophecy. Not that they couldn't have written him well, but...
Should we just go there? Should we just talk about him now?
He's there because he has to be there because he was at the end of Prime 3 and in Hunters or whatever. He's nothing. Like, they didn't do it. He didn't write a character. Like, I don't understand. I don't get it.
Well, okay. Here's what I thought was going to happen. The premise of the game is the Lamorn have a prophecy that a Chosen One will come to save their planet, but the Chosen One never shows up, so they send out a bunch of emissaries across the galaxy to try to find the Chosen One and bring her to the planet. That's like a bit of backstory you get towards the end of the game. And I thought, like, oh, Sillux is going to be the last Lamorn. That's why he hates Samus so much, because she never showed up to save his planet. And that's why he went after the artifact that brought everybody to the
You're
planet
cooking
in the
with
first
ingredients
place.
they never had. That's
Yo,
crazy.
is this like the new Uncle Mike's fanfic corner? Let's go.
But like it ties the two of the 3 plots of the game together a lot better. I mean, doesn't it? Or like it actually gives a reason.
Could, but yeah, I have to give you props.
And it also explains why it is that Sylux or whatever it is can control the Cybots and stuff. And you know, like, it gives them a reason to hate Samus. It gives them a reason to go after the artifact. And it's actually kind of interesting. Like, hey, you failed to save our species, so now I hate you and I want to kill you and get revenge or whatever. That would have been something. Instead, it turns out he's just Infinite the Jackal.
Yeah.
From Sonic Forces. It's like the same fucking shit.
What they decided to do is they tied Sylux to the, like, main plot. In terms of thematic resonance, I think what they're going for is that, hey, look, Samus is with all these Galactic Federation people, and she needs to, like, accept their help to get through this. And Sylux didn't accept Samus's help, so he's a bad guy. And that is literally it. That's it. And you have... Why do you have a Final Fantasy VII Remake battle in space with him? Why does this occur? Why does this happen? You go to the fucking edge of the universe, whatever the fuck.
Yeah.
For some reason.
He just gets reality.
Admittedly,
he just,
it's a cool
opens
arena,
the gate.
but like, I just don't. I don't know what's going on. Why?
Because the bullet point said so.
Yeah,
but that's what it feels like. Is that he's back because they teased him so long ago that, like, if he didn't come back,
People would be
I don't
like,
know.
"Where's Sillux?"
Because that's also the thing too, where it's just like, okay, Sylux is a nothing burger in Prime 4, but like it's not like in Prime Hunters he was that big of a deal either. He was a mook.
Well,
Well,
Sylux
he was
became a
Boba
big
Fett.
deal because he was teased.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like,
Yes.
and that built him into something he probably was never supposed to be. Which, you know, fine enough. You still could have written a character. It would have been fine. But that just makes it even more annoying because, I mean, like, I don't know, man. Especially because it seems like they're not done with this, which is just strange.
Yeah.
They're not done with what,
That's-
Prime?
With the story that they built in Prime 4, it seems like they want to do a more direct follow-up to it, a la kind of the Prime trilogy's like overarching narrative that it had, sort of.
Mm-hmm.
Yes.
But even
Well,
more direct than that, I would say.
Yeah, because I saw a lot of people like coping on Reddit, like, "Oh, they totally cooked with Sillux's character. Just you wait and see for the rest of the trilogy, folks." And just like, the rest of the trilogy? What are you talking about? This felt like a pretty self-contained game to me. Like because like spoilers, the whole game you bond with Rick Moranis, you bond with the
Ezra
sergeant
Miller.
guy, and the lesbian girl who loves Samus, and you bond
Watch
with.
with guys named Rick.
There's like a robot that shows up later that shows up way too fucking late, and then there's Rieger, who's my favorite. Because like there's some optional scenes you can get with him in the desert where he's just like, "I grew up in a family of hunters and we didn't have enough money to sustain ourselves, so I joined the Federation as like a sniper or whatever. And I believe in this
very
god."
good character, I must say. I don't like the other ones, but I like.
And it's like, for a while, it seems like Miles is going to be the only one, or Rick Moranis, sorry, is the only one that you're going to interact with. And then like you meet up with Ezra Miller and the lesbian later on in the volcano level. And for the record, I know that it's just supposed to be she looks up to Samus, but the actress lays it on so thick that it comes off like she's in love with Samus. But it's like they pull off this thing during the mine level, which Ryan didn't get to, but that level was...
Oh my god, dude. I forgot about that level.
That level, it was the library from Halo 1. It was just like a linear series of corridors where you get attacked by grievers constantly instead of Flood. And it's like they pull off this thing one after another where it's like, "Go ahead, Samus, I'm going to stand here."
But Samus has no fucking relationship to them. She doesn't speak.
Well,
Where does this idea come from that Samus doesn't speak, by the way?
Because people hated Other M. That's why. And
she speaks
they lack
in Fusion
the nuance.
too. I mean, it's her inner monologue, I guess, but she also has dialogue, right?
Yeah, she does. But, you know, like, I think they were afraid because, like, when Other M came out, people were just like, "Oh, this voice actress sucks. Samus shouldn't talk." And they interpreted that criticism not of, like, "Oh, the writing sucks and Samus doesn't feel like Samus" and Other M. They interpreted it as, "Oh, I guess Samus isn't, we just can't have her talk anymore."
Well, you know what's wild?
I think that's what happened.
This is the wild thing, is that Samus speaks in Metroid Dread. She speaks gobbledygook, to be fair, but like she still speaks.
Well, she's speaking Chozo, but yeah, she has like one line when she's talking to Quiet Robe.
That makes it even weirder.
Yeah.
It's just, so like, fine, you want to make her silent, whatever. She was silent in the Prime games, basically. So like, whatever. Why would you make the story dependent on her having a relationship with people when she can't speak to them? Because it's so weird when she's interacting with Armstrong. It's just bizarre that she doesn't say anything to her, especially when Armstrong thinks she lost like her commander. Samus is just kind of like, just deadpan.
But
like maybe there's some emotion going on under the visor, but like
it's awkward.
It's like really awkward. And but it would be fine if that wasn't the crux of what they're trying to do, which just makes it even weirder.
Because the characters in 3, a lot of people don't like the bounty hunters. I'm personally, I grew to like them on repeat playthroughs. I think they give you just enough in that Norian section where you're like, okay, I know what
hunters too. In fact, it's probably what makes me dislike the Galactic soldiers as much as I do, with the exception of the sniper guy. Who only really became super interesting at the end of the game, where they just decide he's going to show up in the open world in the very final hours, even though it feels like something they should have just started doing earlier.
Yeah.
I don't know if I'm remembering this right or not, but like the bounty hunters in Prime 3, they were at one point boss fights, right?
Yes.
Yeah,
well, that's
like that interesting narrative thing.
Interesting narratively for me is that at the beginning of the game, you know, they're like rival bounty hunters. There's a bit of playfulness, but there's a pre-established relationship, and then they get corrupted by Dark Samus, or I guess just
Phase
the
on,
corruption in general. And then Samus has to kill him. And that is really good storytelling. Like that makes the boss fights more memorable because there's something at stake there. And there's nothing like that in 4, even though they're clearly trying to do something similar. And it's why I say there's nothing wrong with the idea of any of this. It's just so bizarre the way that they handled it all.
Yeah. And the fact that mine section, like the fact that like one character after another is like, you go on ahead, I'll keep them busy. And it's just like, okay, they're fucked. They're not getting out of there alive. And then they do all at once. And you're like, okay, well, if that didn't kill them, then nothing's going to kill them. And then you get to the end of the game where you go back to the tower finally. By the way, there's this game's version of the artifacts is put together one of the golems from Federation Force. So Rick Moranis can punch through the barrier. Like, it's what? That'd not be my... I can't remember if he shoots it or punches it, but it's just like, put this thing together so we can go bring the fight to them. And it's like, by the way, they really should have just brought some space pirates over there. You know, man, you could have had like space pirate camps around the desert, and that could have had like an expansion or something for killing them. Have like a big fight scene when you get into the tower. Instead, it's just like, oh, we're going to blow through this barrier through pure force because that makes sense instead of shutting off a generator or something. Then they climb up the thing, and it's just like, oh, all the Lemorn are dead. And it's like, I thought we'd already established this 10 hours ago. Why is this a surprise? I guess Samus thought that Shatoya, the priest, was still alive for some reason. But at the beginning, he's like, yeah, we're all dead. So remember us and all that, which is a fine science fiction idea. It's like, you get brought to this planet, now you got to figure out how to get off. I know, I didn't like that. And then you get to the top of the tower, and it's like, okay, here's the teleporter that's going to bring us back to the planet that the game started from. And then Sillux shows up, and he's just like, even though he's been silent for the entire series up to this point in his brief appearances, suddenly he's talking constantly. He's like, I hate you, Samus. And then he like grows tentacles and he fights you, and you fight him with your friends. And they also introduced this revive mechanic, like this is Gears of War or something. And then there's sort of like a rocks fall, everybody dies ending where like, Samus, you go through the portal, we'll hold them off.
Again.
Yes, again, exactly. And it's less like, okay, is this like that part in Resident Evil Revelations 2 where you have to wait for Moira to shoot the guy, and that's how you get the good ending? No, apparently, if you do nothing and try to save them, you just die. So the actual only ending of the game is she abandons Sillux and all of her friends on the planet, the teleporter blows up, presumably killing everybody, and that's the end of the game. And I was like flabbergasted. That is the ending they went with after all the time they spent on these characters. You know, like I said, if they can get out of the mine alive, feels really contrived to kill them off this way, this late into the game. Like all of them. It's not like Rick Moranis said, I'll hold them off and the rest of you guys can go in and I'll sacrifice myself. It's like everybody dies except Samus. And Rieger throws his Praise the Sun talisman to Samus, and she takes it and then immediately drops it. She plants the memory fruit and leaves the religious talisman that the guy gave her just there. And I guess the implication is supposed to be, I think it's in the lore somewhere, I don't remember, that the Lemorn grow from plants or something. So the idea is by planting the memory fruit, it's going to create a new great tree, and eventually something Lemorn-like will repopulate this planet. And the idea is by leaving the Solon talisman there, it's like, okay, Solon, watch over these people and guide them. I think that's what they were going for. It's just so awkward.
That part of it, too. It's a good part of the ending. She plants the tree. That's great. And it's like, any one of these ideas could have been awesome. If it was just like Samus solo adventure, unearthing the memories of the Lemorn and then planting it to like propagate into the future, maybe they'll survive. They'll become unextinct again, whatever the word for that is.
Repopulated?
Yeah. I don't know. They'll be reborn one day. That would have been cool. But it's not just that. It's that chafing with everything else. It just makes... Nothing has the power that it needs to, especially with the way that it ends. Where like, I don't know.
Yeah.
And that's why I don't like it. That's why it's steadily going down in my head, because I'm like, there were parts of it, maybe in the beginning, where I was like, oh, this is awesome. And then just gradually it lost me. Completely lost me, dungeon by dungeon. It's just a steady down ramp. And it never recovered, and it just left a horrid taste in my mouth.
Oh, yeah, I definitely feel you there. Like, when I finished the game, I hadn't felt like that since I finished Other M, and that's not a good sign. Or, like, when I finished Other M, I was just like, oh, is this... I don't know where the series goes after this. And then that game was followed up with the hiatus, and I just feel bad because apparently the game didn't do as well as they hoped. And it's like, on one hand, I'm kind of glad because, like, I don't want this to become the new norm for Prime. But on the other hand, it's like, after spending so much time and money on it and waiting so long for it to come out, it's not like a positive encouragement to make more of these games, See, but on the other hand, do I want the series to keep going if it's going to turn into this? Like, I don't know. So it's just miserable all around. Like, no one's happy.
I hope they don't take the wrong lessons from this, which, knowing Nintendo, they very well might. But, like, I feel like as if they've already had enough proof in the pudding with, like, the Prime Remaster and Metroid Dread, and they already know that, like, people care about Metroid Prime and they care about the Metroid series. Cool, you made a bad game. People didn't buy a bad game. Make a good one, which it's not as easy as 1, 2, 3. Don't get me wrong, but I would like it if, despite how I feel about this game, I would like it if the team gave it another shot. Take the lessons, take the notes, and then just, like, make a focused Metroid. Because that's the problem, is that this game doesn't know what it wants. Like, it knows what it wants to be, it just doesn't know how to actually do it. You know what I mean?
I mean, Dread, this is what I said at the beginning, is that Dread is the reason why Prime 4 didn't really hit me in a dramatic kind of way. It was just kind of like, okay. Because Dread showed me that there are people there who get Metroid.
Yeah.
And not even necessarily get Metroid, but just, like, can make a Metroid game that I like.
Yeah.
That I love, even. Because Dread, I have a lot of problems with Dread, too. I don't really like the direction that its story goes, necessarily, and what it says about past games. And, like, I was fine with the music, but there's nothing outstanding.
Yeah.
But it was also a game that fucking ripped, that I played so many times. It was, like, one of my favorite Metroid games to replay. The like, feeling of its action systems, like, the combat was, like, crazy good. The boss fights were fucking awesome.
I still think about that Ravenbeak fight.
Yeah.
And the game was fresh, too. It wasn't a bunch of stuff we'd already seen, like, apart from Kraid. But even that was kind of different from the other games, so...
That's why I still feel optimistic about Metroid overall, because Dread came out and it showed me that there's still a lot of energy towards making Metroid cool. And I have hope that that will continue to blossom. And that Prime 4 was just an unfortunate situation that happened that I'll forget about, hopefully, within like 5 years.
I want them to try again.
Maybe it ends up being like a Paper Mario Sticker Star situation where you come back to it years later and you love it.
I don't think that's going to happen. But
well, let me actually ask you something, Mike. Did you 100% this game?
Yeah.
Okay, so like there's no like neat 100% ending or nothing?
There's like a cinematic you get.
She takes her helmet off at the end. That's it.
Yeah.
Just like the first one. As if this game wasn't enough like the first one already. But they had, even down to that, they had to do the same thing.
Yeah.
But no, if you're hoping like, oh, you find out that the guys are still alive. No, it's just she has her helmet off in the last scene, and that's it. It's weird how she looks different in every game, too. Like, she looks like she's 56 years old in the first one. Then she looks like a plastic Barbie in the second. And then the third one, she looks anime. And the fourth one, she looks different still. So, I don't know. But what happened was I missed one of the beam upgrades because I thought I'd cleaned out one of these shrines. Turns out I didn't. There was an area I didn't go in. It's like the one where you have to like fill up water into like a basin. And it turns out there's a thing you can bomb at the bottom that leads to one of the beam upgrades. And I just missed it. So I was stuck at 99%. And I'm like, I thought I did everything. All the marks on the map are gone. Turns out I missed that. And I tried to get all of the green crystals even. I got maybe like 98%. And like the thing with that is I tried to get them all because I thought that you needed to do that for 100%. Turns out it's just for a gallery thing. And even though, like, I thought I got them all, it's just, if you miss one tiny little speck of a green crystal, that counts. And then, like, you have to figure out where in this giant desert is the tiny speck of green you missed. So that sucked. But thankfully, you don't need that to get the... Oh, Ryan, there is one thing you get apart from the helmet being off. And that's, like, a video that shows Sylux's backstory. Which is how we even know any of this shit. Because, like, throughout the game, Samus has like panic attacks where it seems like she's having a Vietnam flashback or something. And you're like, what the hell is this? Is this like a foreshadowing of things to come? Is there going to be an ultimate power on this planet that Sillux wants? And if she doesn't get it, this is what's going to happen? Turns out it's Sillux having Vietnam flashbacks. And because he's in a psychic healing pod or whatever, he's like transmitting it to her brain. Then you actually get to see the whole flashback in the gallery. And it's just, the gist of it is Sillux is human, and he was, I think he was like a Federation sergeant or something, and he was going up against space pirates, which look like the ones from this game, even though this presumably took place before Prime 1, because Prime Hunters takes place immediately after that, and it would have had to have been before that. And they're going up against this giant weapon, and he's like, I want to capture that weapon, because I'm, presumably a bad guy even now. And TACCOM is like, no, stay back and wait for Samus to show up. And he's just like, I don't want to wait for Samus. Let's go capture the weapon now, everybody. And then everybody gets killed except for him. And Samus shows up shortly afterwards and like offers him a hand to help him get up. And he swats it away. And then he looks down at his hands and there's like blood on it, I think. And then it transitions to him looking down at his hands in the pod. And that's how you know it's Sillux. And the whole thing is just like, okay, seems like he made a self-destructive choice. Blame shifted it on to the most famous person in the story. Like, it didn't really make sense to me why he hated Samus, because she didn't do anything. It was entirely his fucking fault. And yet he's like, damn you, Samus, you ruined everything, even though you didn't do anything. So, and it's like, that's the backstory that they've been teasing since 2006 for this character. They're like, oh, this Sillux guy, he has a really interesting backstory. Can't wait for you guys to hear it. Yeah, what's his story? And then you find it out, and he's like, oh, he's infinite.
It really is infinite, isn't he?
Yeah.
That's funny.
Or like, Infinite gets his ass kicked by Shadow and decides that he's going to become an edgy hot topic wolf.
I will say that the fight you have with him where he doesn't turn into a dragon is actually kind of fun. So I'll give it that. Like when it's just mono a mono.
Yeah.
That was fun. I hated the part where he grew the dragon heads. Hated that a lot, but the part where you just fight him straight up, I like it. It kind of reminded me of the Dark Samus fights, which I also like.
Yes, because they make it's like the Dark Samus in 2 where you fight him like 3 times. Only the first 2 times it's like a Cybot pretending to be him, or him controlling a Cybot remotely and making it like him. It wasn't really clear. Because the game just kind of forgets about him.
The sauce that Prime 2 Dark Samus has. Like the final fight of Prime 2 Dark Samus is fucking awesome. Because like the planet's about to explode, but he's like, nah, we gotta fight. And that's just like yet another thing that it just kind of feels like they were like, let's do that again without any of the meaning. I don't know.
It does sort of feel like a series of, oh, we gotta put this in there, if you know what I mean. It's like how Indiana Jones 4 is just a bunch of plot beats and ideas you've seen in other Indiana Jones movies, because it's like, well, it's been 25 years since we made the last one, so we gotta have the hat.
It's Indiana Jones, have a big the guy. Other one.
Yeah. It's Prime 4. We gotta have a volcano area, an ice area, a lab in the ice area. Yeah. And we gotta have a forest, a rainforest type thingy. Oh, and we've gotta have a town in the sky. It's like a bunch of stuff we've seen in the other games, just not done as well. Yeah.
I will say it is a little, I mean, it has nothing to do with anything, but I do find it a little strange that with all of the ideas that it's pulling from like the other Prime games, I am a little surprised there's not like an online multiplayer mode, which for like a Switch, it's not a launch Switch 2 game, sure, but it was like, launch year. And I think this would have been like a pretty cool online multiplayer game, that could have been something that saved it a little bit. Not that like the Prime multiplayer these great has controls, been the best. But, it's something. It could have been something to hold you over for like the next, like, I don't know, Splatoon or Smash or something.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Just an observation on my part.
So I've personally exhausted all the things I wanted to bitch about. So you guys have anything else to say about this game?
Not really.
Where did Samus get her boots? I want to know.
They were created by Chozos.
No, I thought she got them at the boot store.
Hell yeah.
No, I got nothing.
All right.